Today's Evening First Alert weather show is brought to you by Bresky Siding.
All right, trying this again. We've got video. Just needed to do the old restart there on the program, and we are back in business. Apologies to everybody for that taking a minute. But we are back, and we are talking about snow, and we're also talking about the potential for some gusty winds on Friday. And we're also talking about the potential for some pretty cold wind chills going into Saturday morning and even Friday night. I think things are going to cool off pretty quickly tomorrow. Good to see everybody on the chat, and for those of you who are repeating the chat tonight, appreciate you for sticking with me through those technical difficulties. Here is what's happening now. We've got some snow that is currently moving through the region. If you've been watching our stream or our newscast the last couple of days, we've been talking about round number 1 and round number 2. The bright side to what I'm seeing tonight, even though we're still seeing snow and even though there's still potential for us to slow things down on the roads a little bit, I'm not seeing as much freezing drizzle reports locally. It's out there. I ran into it a little bit, but I think the fact that the radar shows mostly snow at this hour is encouraging, that that's not as widespread as what it may have been. Looking back into some of the data yesterday, now there is some freezing drizzle being reported in areas like Gaylord, and it does appear that places like Houghton Lake are reporting some mist, but I'm not seeing any of that in Mount Pleasant or Alma at the time being. It looks like MBS Airport is reporting some of that. So what I do think is that we will have to still be mindful of it here and there, but I'm encouraged that what's passing through now at least is going to be snow, and that kind of cuts down on what the residence time could have been for freezing drizzle. I still think it's going to be possible in this area here at times once the main batch moves out. But I think if you look towards the sky tracker, we've got our next round of snow that's starting to creep into northwest Wisconsin. I think once that moves in, that will have enough moisture, have enough support to where we can get snow back in the picture, and again, hopefully squeeze the residence time of that drizzle to where it's not a big problem. The one also bright side is that road crews are treating, and even in some areas that they're not treating, what's happening with this snowfall is it's going right over some of those roads, and maybe the drizzle just falls right on top of that. And so instead of getting that clear road surface with a glaze on it, while it's still not ideal, at least when it's on the snow, it's a little bit better than just that smooth road surface because you've still got some of that snow underneath, and it's just a little bit better than just pure ice down below, at least in some situations. So we'll kind of see where things go for tonight. Traffic map at this point is looking decent. There are some spots that are a little bit slower than others. But right now there's mostly green. We do have what appears to be an accident on 75 between Bay City and Linwood. It looks like it's in the northbound lanes. Zooming out, we've got some slowdowns, it looks like, going into Oakland County from Genesee. But overall, at least on the main roads, no major issues according to the traffic map. Now, sometimes that doesn't always tell the whole story, or it sometimes takes a little bit to catch up, especially this time of night when there's less traffic on the roads. But overall, this is encouraging, at least for the moment. Visibility-wise, take a look at that as the snow falls. Seems like we're getting some visibilities down to around 3 or 4 miles. So it could be a lot worse when it comes to that too. As far as the hour-by-hour forecast goes, here is how that looks as we go through tonight. So here's a picture of what is passing through now. If we take it out to about 10:30, it's still there, but if we zoom out even more, it does start to break up a little bit overnight. And I think it's during this time frame where we've got a lot of these areas that look dry that we will have to be mindful of that freezing drizzle threat. We fast forward through the morning commute Friday. There's some of that snow that still has to move through. We see that continue for at least a couple of hours tomorrow morning, and then eventually it just fizzles out as we head into the afternoon. I think there could be a few scattered snow showers. Potentially some of them could develop into some squall-like features. If you look at this image right here, back this up a little bit so I can get my little pointer tool out. If you look at some of these snow showers right here with the deeper shades of blue, notice that they're very few and far between But wherever they set up, there's the possibility that some of these could have some heavier snowfall rates, reduce visibility out on the roads. But thankfully, they seem pretty progressive. And once we get into the evening, a lot of that slows down and we start to see things quiet down. But also, that comes with its own challenges because check this out. We go through the morning, and I'll just pause here at 11 o'clock. Look at some of these temperatures. You've got lower to middle 30s, which will be cooperative for road treatments and things like that. But you go from 11 o'clock to even 5 o'clock, and we're already down in the teens. And then we go from 4 o'clock to say 9:30, when many will be out for their Friday evening plans or perhaps leaving those gyms for high school basketball or any other activities that might be ongoing. And you're back in the single digits to also low teens. And so there's the potential that you could be having anything that's left on the roads as far as any moisture. It could slick up pretty quickly, especially on roads that are untreated. So we will have to watch that going into Friday nights. And then temperatures get even cooler into the overnight hours and into Saturday morning, where we drop down near zero or a little bit above. And I think it's possible that at least a few locations could drop down actually below zero going into Friday night and Saturday. So we've got plenty to talk about with that. Let me give you a quick run through with the winds. I do think the wind could at least help us out a little bit when it comes to drying things out after the snow comes to an end. So let's just go to 7 o'clock on Friday morning. I think you're seeing gusts between about probably 15 to 20 miles per hour at most, maybe 25. But also as we head towards lunchtime and into the afternoon, you see those winds shift from, let's go back to the morning just so you can see. You've got a primarily westerly and southwesterly flow here in the morning. But if we go back to around lunchtime, you're starting to see that flow shift to the northwest. And so what you're seeing is you're seeing an Arctic cold front come through. And because of the air mass change, the atmosphere has to kind of work a little bit harder to balance things out. When you go from a stronger system on one side to a weaker system on the other, the harder the atmosphere has to work to kind of balance things out again. That's why you get those reactions during the summer months when you have warm and humid air and you have cold and dry air. Those two air masses are very different. And so the big reaction that we get in those situations with big thunderstorms, well, it applies in the winter too. The bigger the difference, the stronger the reaction. And so that Arctic cold front coming through with those temperatures that were in the 30s earlier in the day to an air mass that's going to drop to the single digits and also low teens going into Friday night, well, there's going to be a bit of a pressure change that the atmosphere has to make up. And so what you're seeing is the stronger winds that move through Friday afternoon that we've got gusting to around 30 to 40 miles per hour and maybe in the thumb up to about 46 miles per hour in areas like Port Hope. It stays pretty breezy through the evening, does lose a little bit of steam as we head towards the overnight hours. But considering how strong the wind is and how cold it will be, well, let's check out your feels like temperatures through the day tomorrow. You've got 12 o'clock. We're already starting to see some of those single digits come through. Well, then by 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, we're already dropping below zero. By 9, 10 o'clock, we're already 0 to about 10 below in most locations, even pushing 15 to 20 below. And then by Saturday morning, early in the morning, we're between about 15 and 25. And it looks like some of that keeps going right through 7 a.m. And so I do think there's the chance that we could see a cold weather advisory issued for tomorrow night into early Saturday. Now, that's better than Friday, of course, because we don't have to deal with bus stops or anything like that. But if you are traveling early Saturday, know that. Or if you know somebody who's vulnerable to the cold in this type of scenario, maybe they don't have a working heat system or one that works reliably. Maybe you know somebody who has fallen on hard times or something like that and could use a warm place. Friday night into Saturday could be a little tough. And then lastly, I've kind of skipped over this, and my apologies, but for those of you who are asking questions about school and things like that, here is kind of what's left to go from tonight through tomorrow. We are expecting most areas to pick up, I would say, from about a ½ inch up to 2 inches. And I think areas that are a little bit further to the west over here will probably be closer to a ½ inch to an inch and a half. These areas, I think, to the east have the best chance to pick up maybe another 1 to 2. But some of these areas, this is also including what's left to go tonight, not just Friday itself. So again, you're spreading 1 to 2 inches over the course of not only tonight, but through the day tomorrow. And so this is not all coming from 6 to 8 o'clock tomorrow morning when it comes to the commute. So I'm sure some of you are probably wondering about schools and things like that tomorrow. It's always a tough call because it's not necessarily this amount of snow that's going to be significant. I think the amount of snow on its own probably isn't that big of a deal, but I think a lot of it's going to come down to how well the roads are treated tonight, how well they handle some of the snow coming into this evening. So if I had a gut feel, I would say most schools, I think, are in session tomorrow. That has nothing to do with, what the decision will ultimately be. Just a gut feeling on how these decisions are made and what I've observed. I think most will be in session for tomorrow. I would expect some extra travel time. I would expect things to maybe be a little bit slower at times, and if it's not great, then you are on time. But you certainly don't want to be rushing tomorrow when the snow is falling, because I still think we're looking at temperatures that are probably going to be in the 20s to start the day. And so that's going to accumulate efficiently on some of the roads that aren't treated ahead of time. I think one thing that does kind of help us is the fact that the road crews are already working tonight. I've seen a couple of plows out myself. And so I think the fact that we're already sort of ahead of the game helps us out in a way tomorrow morning rather than just starting from scratch late tonight and also tomorrow. So that could also differ from place to place. Some areas might have a better plan of attack than others, or some areas might just have more resources to get to it more efficiently. It's not necessarily a reflection on those crews that are out there working. It's just kind of how things go from community to community. So I would say if you're a parent and your student is wondering about homework, I would do it just to be on the safe side, because I think most will probably be in session. And then if you get a surprise tomorrow morning, great. Low expectations, maybe a high reward. Maybe that's a little bit better. But I would say I think it's going to be manageable tomorrow morning, just based on the amount of snow, and I think just based on how things are already being cleaned up tonight. But I never say never. There's been nights where, you can treat, and there are still some mornings that can sometimes be a little bit slower than others. So that's kind of my opinion on anybody asking about school. So I'll take a look at some of the comments here tonight. We've got a good crowd this evening, and again, thanks for those of you who stuck with us through the technical difficulty earlier. Christina Marie, hoping for a snow day. I'll hope for you. I've got nothing to lose. I'll hope for you. Stacy says about 3/4 east of West Branch. Stacy, are you talking about about 3/4 of an inch or 3/4 of a mile in visibility? I'm guessing snow, but I don't want to be wrong. Appreciate Linda and Sherry for the Meteorologist Day wishes. Roads are bad in Montrose. Yeah, Colleen, I'm sure some of this is coming through. The roads aren't great. But luckily, by the time tomorrow morning comes around, hopefully there's going to be some work done. Vicki Davison to Caro, Michigan will be okay between 10 and 11. Vicki, I think so. I think the snow's wrapping up by then. And they'll be out all morning trying to keep up with it. So I would think so. Still be careful, please. June from Unionville. Linda already asking, is the 6 weeks of winter done? Oh, man. I know a lot of people feel that way. It certainly seems to be the... no, you're fine, Stacy. Sorry. I read it thinking snow, but I just wanted to make sure it wasn't the way you worded it. But yeah, I think the common theme is most people are done with winter at this point. I know the ice fishermen are happy. And if you watched our stream with the Airborne Angler last night, I am happy for those of you who spend time on the ice. It's been the best season you've had in a while, but I also can acknowledge that there's at least a small part of me that is hoping we can be done soon too. Ardeen, Bay County sent out an alert telling people to stay off the roads due to icy conditions. Yeah, I mean, locally tonight, I don't think there will be some areas that will be great. And I know I showed the traffic map earlier that shows mostly green, but this is also a traffic map that doesn't always pick up on some areas that could be a little bit more localized. So just be mindful. Use it as more of a general guide, not necessarily 100%. So again, with that in mind, if those roads that are icy tonight don't improve by the morning, then you could be talking about some school closings in Bay County, and that might be an area that's experiencing drizzle. So we'll see what happens. I think there is a better than not opportunity for school to be in session, but again, it really depends on how things hold up tonight, and I think that freezing drizzle, if that comes back in, that could pose a whole nother level of problems. So we'll see what happens. Let's see, I did see a question. Gordy asked about the wind. Gordy, if I didn't answer your question already, I think the gusts will be about 30 to 40 tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening. I do believe that we'll have some pretty harsh wind chills to go along with that, and we'll fall below zero pretty quickly. Any other questions coming through? Snow still falling. Kind of left it up on the traffic map there, but snow is still falling in parts of the region. Let me see if I can find that Bay County alert, just to see if we can get some more information on that. Let's see. Looking at Bay alerts, I'm seeing some reports of crashes, but I might not be looking at the right place. Okay, so first responders out on the roads, the conditions are extremely hazardous. Please only travel if absolutely necessary. Road crews are out working. So I'm wondering if we've got some freezing drizzle happening in some of these areas, and perhaps that's causing some problems. There is a little bit of drizzle mixed in with some of this snow, so that could be responsible for that. But either way, drive to conditions tonight. Let me check the MI Drive map just to see if I can find where some of these plows are. So this is a good map. I'll pull this up just so everybody can see. And here we go. You've got plows all over Saginaw County. We can see some of their live cams. This is pretty cool. I like seeing some of the names that come along with them. That's the Spirit of Saginaw right there. Herbert H. Plow. Beast. Will Be Snow Day. Applying Material. Winter Warrior. Blade of Glory. And Blaze. Looks like we've got an unnamed maintenance vehicle near Birch Run. Okay, good report from Terry. Owendale to Sebowing was icy. We had freezing drizzle around 6 tonight. So Terry, my hope would be then if you've had freezing drizzle earlier this evening that you can get maybe a little bit of this snow coming through on top of that, and maybe that can help some of the icy conditions out there provide some traction. Looks like we've got a couple plows out near Clare County as well, and northern Isabella. So they are out there tonight, which is, again, a pretty good sign. So Terry, appreciate that report. So I'm going to wrap up the stream here tonight. just because we've got our 10 o'clock newscast coming up. But in summary, snow tonight. We've got freezing drizzle happening, which is causing some icy areas. Assuming that road treatments are effective, and considering some of the temperatures that we have tonight, let's see where those are at. Right around the 20s. Assuming we keep these temperatures, those treatments are usually pretty cooperative. So we've got several hours to go before morning bus stops and before those morning road checks happen. And then the snow itself tomorrow morning, while an inconvenience, is not expected to be a ton. We're talking, again, I think most locations about a ½ inch to 1.5 inches through the bus stop time period, maybe a little bit more later in the morning. So that amount of snow on its own, not necessarily significant. So all those things combined, again, I think there's a better chance than not some schools will be in session tomorrow. But there is some localized variability there that some school districts may not be in as good of a position as others because of this freezing drizzle tonight. So there could be some back road issues. There could be some side street issues, those types of things. So I think it's a little bit more up in the air than a hard way, one way or another. But if you're asking me a gut feeling, I think most will be on the side of being open. That's just a guess, no influence there. So that's kind of my opinion on that. So hopefully everyone stays safe tonight. Please drive to conditions in the morning regardless. And we will have, of course, another chat tomorrow night, and we'll see how things shake out. We'll talk about the cold wind chills and what your weekend forecast looks like. We will see you then.